If you look back in the past of a lot of people, you will find that many of us have some interesting things that are going on. I'm not just talking about in our particular past, but in the past of our predecessors. In my case, it happens that I have a predecessor who was part of what is referred to as the American Civil War, and he worked on the Union side, the side that was against slavery. And he found himself living in Missouri, in Arkansas, as a part of an offensive that was done, I guess, I don't even really know, scouting, I don't even know for sure. But anyway, he found himself in Arkansas, in the state where I currently find myself, and he got captured while he was there. In the course of time, he found some way to get himself out of his captivity, and he did that. That was what he did. But I wanted to talk about this idea that I hear people discussing, which is the concept of the prisoner's dilemma here on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, by the way. Today is Sunday, the 22nd of August of 2021. Welcome for everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. And again, the subject for today is the prisoner's dilemma. So I'm going to go ahead and read my notes real quick, as I'm pretty much prone to do. So let me go ahead and do that very quickly, and we'll go on from there. There's a kind of an odd idea I wanted to take just a moment to discuss today. The concept is referred to as the prisoner's dilemma. Essentially, it seems to assert that the reason people in captivity don't try to free themselves is that they're afraid of those around them, or that they're afraid those around them won't support them in their effort. The funny thing, there's some truth to the idea, but I think not in the way a lot of people express it. If a person truly wishes to escape captivity, I don't believe it's those directly around them that they're generally concerned by. Rather, it's that most such people... Excuse me. Maybe I phrased this wrong. I said rather it's that most such people believe they've been justly put... Okay, I get what I'm saying. Had to decipher my own notes. Rather, it's that most such people, that is, the people who are incarcerated various places, believe they've been justly put in the position in which they currently are. Right? That appears to be true even for people for which it's patently and obviously not the case. If you talk about a person who's been jailed for some serious crime, though, most of them realize leaving their confinement prematurely is likely to cause them to be in worse shape, and I put that in quotes, worse shape, than just writing it out. Breaking out of incarceration comes with consequences. As an example, would be time added to your sentence if apprehended. My point is that using the idea of the prisoner's dilemma to express why it might be that people are afraid to act when they see themselves as oppressed in some fashion might not be the best choice. That said, it's not a horrible one either, since most such people likely believe bad things will happen to them if they stand up. If you look at the folks involved in the January 6th event, you can understand that might be the case. Who's helping any of them right now? I would say the number is exceptionally small. I think that's pretty much all I had for my notes, so I'm going to kind of move myself on with the conversation here. As I say, what my notes are just to encapsulate more or less what I'm going to talk about when I talk about whatever subject it is that I choose. So the thing is this. My predecessor, my great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, whatever he was held in a stockade or whatever in Arkansas when he was captured as a Union soldier by, one assumes, the Confederates. He found a way to break himself out, and I don't know exactly how he got where he was going, but needless to say, it's very likely that there were people in Arkansas and either who lived there or people who came there from elsewhere who made it possible for him to make his way back. I don't know if to his home or to his encampment or how it worked out. I couldn't tell you for sure. I never did get the whole story. I got part of it from letters that he actually sent, right? But the point is, he knew that there would be people supportive of what he was doing along the way. For most people who are in jail, say they went to jail for murder, do you honestly think most people are looking at them and going, yeah, that's somebody that I want to support? Well, the answer to that is generally no. And worse yet, even if people think that that person has maybe become a better person over the course of time, if they escape from jail to begin with, that's a problem. But on top of that, if you add to that the idea that they had time to do and they haven't done their time, and that's considered to be a proper thing and proper recompense to the family or whoever the person being murdered, family and friends of the person being murdered, for example, then of course it makes sense that people are going to expect of that individual that he or she is going to do the time, right? I say he, funnily enough, because mostly that's the people who find themselves in that position as males. All of this being said, though, the idea of comparing the average person who's concerned about whether or not he or his family is going to basically be nailed to a cross if they support things because other people don't support those things is an entirely different thing for the most part. The fair part of the comparison is to say that that person who is supporting things that other people don't support realizes that most of the people around them are going to take what he or she says, and they're going to run with the idea that that person should be punished or persecuted for the fact that they believe those things. And in a free society, by the way, that really should never be the case. And that shows where we are in modern society. We've got a problem in modern society. Particularly in the Americas, particularly in the United States, we have a problem in the modern society, and it is that right now there are a bunch of people who are afraid of the fact that if they speak their minds, they're going to be ostracized or told what horrible human beings they are and so forth. And look, it's a hard thing, right? Because you want to tell a person who really is a bad person, you're a bad person. But the problem is if you start doing things like that, then there are people with whom you disagree, and maybe it's you who hasn't really thought things out correctly, and that person tries to say something, and the thing that they say is actually sensible or correct, and because you're so sold on the idea that they're a bad person because everybody says that they are, you're willing to side with the crowd and lynch them from the nearest tree or whatever it happens to be. Obviously, lots of times it's not that serious. Obviously, lots of times it's social ostracization or the person loses his business or whatever, but that's really pretty bad. That's really pretty bad. And it's even worse if the person happens to get incarcerated or whatever as a result of what they believe. What they believe is totally acceptable and totally reasonable. And this is kind of what I'm bringing out today. I get the idea of the prisoner's dilemma. Let me respectfully state to you that the prisoner's dilemma is in my mind not that the person who is in prison or whatever decides that the people around them directly are not going to support them. It is that there are people out there who believe that that person belongs where they find themselves. And those people often are nothing to do with that prison. They're nothing to do with that. Past to say that that individual will stand in front of people who will boo and hiss and so forth because they believe that that individual pretty much belongs where they find themselves. So if you want to talk about the idea of the prisoner's dilemma, instead of talking about the fact that, 100 people control 1,000 or 5,000 people, a population of 1,000 or 5,000 people. The reality is, for the most part, most of those people control themselves because they realize that if they walk away from that jail, which some of them could probably pretty easily find a way to do, the end result is not going to be pretty, and it's going to have very little to do with prison guards or other people in the prison. Most of it is going to have to do with when they face that judge or law enforcement somewhere, and they either get shot or they find themselves back in jail with a bigger prison sentence than they had when they started out. Most of them realize that it makes more sense for me just to ride this out. And this, by the way, is pretty well the way things work for most people outside of the penal systems as well. Most of them come to the conclusion it's better for me to ride things out and to accept the fact that right now people are going to be hot-headed about things and come to a point when they're not that way and then work myself into a position where I can say, okay, look, here's what I believe. And maybe suffer slings and arrows in the meantime, but generally speaking, be okay. All right, it's about time for me to wrap up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Sunday, the 22nd of August of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Monday, the 23rd of August of 2021. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a positive Rumble or a plus or a negative Rumble or a minus on Rumble. Obviously, I prefer the positive, but if you feel the need to give me the negative, I can understand that. You can also use a boxing glove lots of times for that purpose as well. You can do, by the way, you can give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube as well, obviously. And on both platforms, you can comment, which I would prefer, particularly if you're going to give me negative feedback, so that I have some idea why it is that you're giving me that negative feedback. Today we've been talking about the prisoner's dilemma. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the subject of masks, and I really feel that this is something that I need to talk about, even though I know that on certain platforms that people actually see me, there's a possibility that I'm going to get people making complaints against me of various kinds, and that's just life. I hope you're having a good day today. Today being Sunday, tomorrow it's the beginning of the Christian work week, and tomorrow most people begin their normal work week. Hope that you are having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. Hope that you're going to have a good week going forward. And hopefully we will see you again on Monday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Sunday, August 22nd of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.